Getting back to just the idea of the predominant viewpoint in terms of depiction of women within enclosed spaces, is there a period during which women artists began to sort of prominently subvert this recurring motif of women in enclosed ornate interiors? And if so, was there a reason why that happened, or something that prompted this to happen?
I mean, I think it's kind of as I was saying, that it's happening. It's happening in the later Victorian period because it's becoming more possible, and women's education and women's art training is increasing. There's much more of a sort of school for women's education, and professionalisation is occurring. I think with the turn of the century and this kind of new emphasis on voting and increased need for women's work that's brought about largely in part to the First World War, but there is obvious towards equal recognition, and you have various legal changes that happen, the Married Women's Property Act, and so there's a loosening that takes the best part of a century to happen. So I'm not sure that there's an explosion, but you certainly see with surrealism and the 20s and 30s, you see much more space for women artists happening, and changes in the culture, the loosening of those traditional ties, and certainly the more radical ideas coming to the forefront. You do get more women artists coming to prominence, but I would absolutely argue that we're still not really where we need to be. And though we may have had, each of us know a few female artists as household names, it will not outweigh the number of male artists as household names that we know. So as with any change, any sort of paradigm shift that is tied up with so many complex factors and so many centuries of history and tradition and restriction, it takes centuries for this to happen, and we're still we're not really sort of fully in flight yet. I would say we're kind of at a certain point in the liftoff, but we're not yet kind of quite there. So you may see figures like Dorothea Tanning kind of coming forward, or even photographers like Lee Miller, or you will have kind of these star names that pop up, but we're still not quite at the point where an all-female show is considered anything sort of normal, whereas an all-male show in the previously perhaps people wouldn't perhaps question, like, where are the women artists, whereas now I think we have to more shows like this that kind of push and make space on the walls for women have always been artists and poets and creators. It is just about space.
Yeah, you're so right about that. I definitely agree with that. And I guess this is where exhibitions like this can help.
Yeah, I hope so. And if anything, I'd love it for people to leave just with one or two new names on their lips. If they didn't, unless you're a real, art nerd, perhaps you wouldn't have, sort of contact with some of these people. But if people could just leave thinking, oh, I love Maisie Broadhead, or I really like Shana Lutka, or I have an idea of Penny Slinger's work, I want to go and look at more of what she's done. I think just having one or two new people that you could then go and explore more of their work and their world would be a massive success, a successful outcome for the show.